Well, good morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And we're going to continue our topic of yesterday. And Elaine, good morning. Mike from Wawa. And Nativity, good morning. Monty, good morning to you. Holly from Kansas. John from Elgin, Illinois. Rosalinda, Niagara Falls. Bruno, good morning. Nick from our staff. Francis Marie. Dora, much appreciated. Madeleine, good morning to you. Eileen from Georgina. Zien, our dear friend, and Jean, Peggy, Natalie, Maria, and Judy, Denise, and Jeanette from La Ville de Hearst, Ontario, Colleen, Elaine, Jane. Guys, thanks for coming on. Dorothy, Derek, good morning to you. Wendy from Lindsay. David from Ridgeway. Laura. And Vera from Newfoundland. Oh, we love Newfoundland. David, good morning to you. And Babika. And Jackie. Thanks for coming on, guys. We appreciate it. We're going to continue on our little session from yesterday. Bonnie, Shireen, Agnes, another one from Newfoundland. Our friend Chantal from Ottawa. You guys are great. Debbie and Suzanne and Yolande and Annette, Francine and Leonesse. How are you? Vicky and our friend Wendy, Angel, good morning. Janet from Aylmer. Okay, guys, I got to get going. Patricia from North Bay. How are you, Patricia? B and Orally. Lorraine from BC, and it's 5:30 in the morning. My word. You guys are faithful. Okay, let's get going. I'll come on afterwards and say hi to the rest. Rita, another one from White Rock, British Columbia, 5:30 in the morning. I'm going to wake you up. Okay. No, yesterday what we did is we talked about 3 common mental health disorders. Depression. We talked about bipolar, schizophrenia. Now, they've been around a long time, guys, but what I am emphasizing, or what I emphasized yesterday, is that these things are like, I hate to use the word a pandemic, but these are very much on the increase, And I wanted to show you, as I started yesterday, a nutritional background to these things. Because, you know, I talked to you yesterday about the use of SSRIs and antidepressants and medication used to treat these disorders. And look, all I'm saying is we need to look at other factors rather than just treating, these people. We need to, why is it happening in the first place? And I want to give you my experience on the deficits that occur the things that I found consistently in my practice, okay? Now, yesterday we talked about insulin. We talked about the diet, the crappy diet that is part of our mainstream today. It's amazing to me how on earth we eat the way we eat and expect anything different than what we have. 37% of sugar in the American diet comes from snacks. 75% of 75% of Americans are overweight. 50%, and it's more than that, but 50%, and this is according to the CDC, are either diabetic or pre, and 88% of the population have trouble with insulin, metabolic syndrome. Now, what's that got to do with our brains? Well, it has everything to do with our brains. And these children, and today I want to talk about leaky gut, but let me bring this out because I flagged this yesterday. This is flagged from yesterday. The governing board, the Academy of Nutrition, this is in the United States. The Academy of Nutrition is the governing board of the dietitians in the United States. Now, these are not poorly educated people. They're very well educated in terms of degrees. The problem is, listen to this. Kellogg's, which is one of the sponsors of the Academy of Nutrition, yesterday was fined $30 million in a class action lawsuit that they settled. They settled a class action lawsuit of $30 million for false advertising to children. And let me just read it. Kellogg's agrees to pay $30 million in sugary lawsuit. Headline. And you know what I said? It should be 30 billion. Not 30 million. Raisin Bran, Frosted Flakes, Mini Wheats, Crunchy Nut, Nutrigrain. I think that's a new name. I'll give it to. Nutrigrain cereal bars. Let's call it Nutrigain cereal bars. You're going to gain weight and gain lots of sugar. They agreed to pay a $30 million class action lawsuit for false advertising. These are the people, Kellogg's being part of it, that sponsor the Academy of Nutrition. McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Kellogg's, Soy Joy, Unilever, and the Sugar Association are the other sponsors of the Academy of Nutrition. Do you think they have maybe a conflict of interest when they tell you that to have a balanced diet? And they don't warn you about the excess sugar? I'm telling you, this is creating havoc in our society today. It's a tragedy of all tragedies. And it's very difficult to go against the grain. Pardon the pun. The Nutrigain bar. I like that. I just made that up. But it's guys, it's looking down the road. It's looking at the future. And we have enough data now to know that what happens in a child, their diet, has an enormous effect on mental health later on in life, okay? And let me read to you again Let me read to you again. Okay, and I brought this out yesterday, but I'll just do it again. In the Journal of American Medical Association Psychiatry, insulin resistance in children increases the risk for mental health later in life. And so again, yesterday what we did is we talked about the 3 common mental health issues: depression, bipolar, and schizophrenia. And there's medication for all of that. But the primary medication ought to be our diets, especially with children, when it comes to mental health, because what happens to children, what they eat, the amount of sugar that they're consuming especially, is a national tragedy. It's a national tragedy. And it's difficult to change the narrative because of the association. We just showed you the Academy of Nutrition. Powerful. And big food, Kellogg's, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Unilever, Kraft, Heinz. These people, these companies are huge. And then they combine with the pharmaceutical companies that just want to treat symptoms. There's no cure. They're not looking for a cure. They're looking to treat symptoms. And as I mentioned yesterday, the SSRIs for depression, Zoloft and their associate drugs, they were meant to be temporary. But today, the narrative is, well, you need meds because you have a chemical imbalance. But why do you have a chemical imbalance? And then yesterday was mostly about sugar and insulin. Number 2, leaky gut. These are the things that I found, okay? So clinically, when I saw thousands over the years of people with depression, thousands over the years of bipolar, and hundreds, probably not thousands, hundreds of schizophrenics, I would do a workup on them. And I had my lab that I was interested in, the lab results that I was looking for, because I could tie it to these nutritional deficiencies. Insulin resistance was a key. Number 2, what did we see? I can't even think of an exception. Leaky gut. Leaky gut, leaky brain. Leaky gut, and for some children, it started in the placenta. Mommy had leaky gut. Baby. Not enough friendly bacteria. The invisible war. And today, with all the use of chemicals, sugar that feeds the bad guys, that feeds yeast, candida, travels to the brain, can disrupt the blood-brain barrier, which is again, a good friendly bacterial barrier. Invisible, you can't see it, but it's there nonetheless, and it protects your brain. But what happens if you don't have enough border guards between your gut and your blood and your blood and your brain. They're connected. They talk to each other. They signal each other. I've talked to you in the past about autism. It's leaky gut, folks. It's leaky gut. These kids are canaries in the coal mine. Their brain is fragile. There was no such thing. Autism. The first time I ever heard about it was in 1970. I didn't even know what it was. I never studied autistic children. When I graduated in 1974, never even heard of it. And that's the truth. I'm sure there was some cases, but nobody talked about it. It's not in any of my medical books. These are modern day phenomenons. And I know there's always been depression, and there's been, bipolar, and there's been schizophrenia. But it's crazy today. Mental health. But what happens in a child if they get leaky gut? How do you get leaky gut? How does a child get leaky gut? Well, like I said, could happen in the placenta. When the baby, guys, don't get upset with me. I'm just giving you ways it can happen. When a baby doesn't come down the birth canal, look, modern medicine is wonderful, right? If you need a C-section, wonderful. That there's an ability to have a C-section. A physician is there to give a C-section. I get it. It's wonderful. The problem is, and again, I'm not saying this, the obstetrician societies in Canada, in the United States have said, we're doing it too much. I mean, even medicine understands the importance of a baby going down the birth canal. What's happening in the birth canal as they go through that birth canal? Probiotics, friendly bacteria, mama's feces. It's meant to be. And as they go down that birth canal, and one of the reasons we see so much autism, in my opinion, and again, these kids are canary. Obviously, not every baby that doesn't go down the birth canal is going to be autistic. Of course not. It's just a common denominator. But that's where leaky gut starts, because remember, your microbiome it's an ecosystem. It's a balancing act. And then we get the use of antibiotics. And again, wonderful medicine, antibiotics, save your life. Beautiful. I'm all for them. I really am. But the double-edged sword, antibiotics, fact, destroy all your good guys. Yeah, they get rid of the infection, but they get rid of the good guys too. So what happens? Now you have what we call a dysbiosis. A dysbiosis is when you have not enough friendly bacteria, you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, but worse than that is the invasion of that third army. It's yeast, it's candida, it's fungus. That gets into baby's brain. And now for havoc. And like I said, I never saw an exception in people that were depressed, clinical depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. I never saw a case where they didn't have leaky gut. And nobody was telling them that. Well, I said, you want to get better, you need to, number one, change your diet. Because, again, when you have yeast inside your body, yeast outside your body, you make bread with it. It makes things rise. You know that. Yeast inside your body is not good. I mean, a little bit's all right. Because, again, your body knows how to deal with that. But if it spreads into the bloodstream and it loves the brain, if it can get in the brain, I'm telling you, it has a major effect on people that suffer with these three disorders. That's what I saw. It's what I saw. Leaky gut, leaky brain. And if you could get, it wasn't easy sometimes. You know, when someone suffers from bipolar, okay, for example, it's amazing how much better they get when they discipline themselves and diet. It's very difficult because, you know, their brain wants to play tricks on them. And you have to form habits. That's why I would tell them, look, you got to, for 30 days, trust me, you and sugar don't get along. And especially when you get unwell, you're going to crave sugar. You're going to crave it. Your yeast inside your body will call your name and say, feed me, feed me, feed me. You got to be able to win the battle. It's not going to be easy. You got to get that diet. And you've got to take probiotics. You got to do it. And when they did, it was amazing what happened to them. It was amazing how they could take control of their lives. It made a huge difference. One of the other deficiencies I saw was B12. I would tell them, you don't have enough B12. And you need to eat more vitamin S steak, because that's where you're going to get your B12, in red meat. It's not in the plant kingdom. And you're not absorbing your B12 properly. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. But they were always low in B12. And I said, look, and I used to, especially to start, would get them to supplement. And the numbers for B12, as far as being normal, guys, that B12 test, it's 100 years old. We ought to give it a birthday party and let it retire. Drives me crazy. People are extremely low in B12. And, my doctor didn't tell me that. Look at your doctor. I hate to be negative, but B12 and your doctor, they don't get along. They don't even look at it unless it's flagged. And if it's flagged, you don't have enough B12 for a mouse. B12 is essential for your brain to work properly. Your brain doesn't work properly without B12. I don't talk about the other B vitamins. I want you to eat your B vitamins. But so many people, because if they've got any digestive issues, they don't even absorb B12. If they don't have enough acidity in their stomach, they don't even absorb B12. And how many people, especially young people today, I don't eat anything with eyeballs. It has eyeballs. I don't eat that. I only live on plants and fruits. Ooh, I love young people, I do. But their indoctrination is terrible. They're setting themselves up for a lifetime of health problems. The brain needs nutrition, and B12 is essential for your brain, guys. It's essential for your brain. So when you send me your blood work, and when it's not at least at 800, I'm going to send back to you, your B12 is low. People don't understand that. I don't care if they understand it. In the first day of nutrition, when you learn vitamins, B12 is an essential vitamin. You can't live without levels of B12. And isn't it amazing that the old-fashioned doctors, they walked around with B12 in their doctor's bags. You remember doctor's bags? You don't see that anymore. Right? You don't see that. But they used to have, in the 1950s, 60s too, you were tired? Here's some B12. Nothing to roll up your skin in your leg or your butt or whatever, and here's some B12. You need a shot. And now they have the amazing sublingual B12s. You top it up every day. I'm big on that. But that was something I saw. Even in kids, extremely low levels of B12. No wonder their brains didn't operate properly. It's no wonder they had a chemical imbalance. It wasn't a lack of Zoloft. It was a lack of B12. High insulin, leaky gut. Here's another one they were deficient in. Vitamin D. Vitamin D. Every day, it seems, 7 days a week, yours truly gets another study on the importance of vitamin D. And it ain't just for your bones. The vast majority of people, 90%, have low levels of vitamin D. And for your body to be really healthy, you need optimized levels of vitamin D. Your brain depends on it. You are a human solar panel. The best way to get vitamin D, of course, is from the sun. And I know Johnson & Johnson wants you to lather up your kids so they don't burn. But, people are extremely low in vitamin D. And this is what I found. This is what I found in my practice. People were low in vitamin D. People were low in B12. It makes them much more susceptible to depression, much more susceptible to schizophrenia, much more susceptible to bipolar. Almost without exception, they didn't have optimized levels of vitamin D. Omega-3. They didn't have enough omega-3. And guys, I'm just going to remind you, there's different forms of omega-3. Some are good and some are great, as Tony the Tiger would say. Frosted Flakes aren't great. High omega-3 DHA. Your brain is made up of a certain oil. I don't know if you knew that or not. It's a fatty acid. Your brain is made up of it. And your brain will shrink, shrink, shrink when you don't have enough omega-3. Now, there's plants that give you omega-3. But they're not long-chain fatty acids. I'm not saying plants are no good. Don't come after me. I didn't say that. But if you want your brain to work properly, when I saw patients that were depressed, bipolar, schizophrenic, they didn't have enough of the long-chain fatty acid, DHA. They just didn't have enough of it. Their brain needed oil. The brain needed an oil change. I like that. I don't know anything about my car. Okay, guys? I don't. I don't know how it works. I don't know anything about a combustion engine. I don't. I put gas in, and one thing I do for my car, my truck, I change the oil. Because my warranty demands it. Change the oil. I have a motorcycle. Check the oil and change the oil. Boat. Check the oil. Well, guys, your brain. Well, your whole body. But your brain needs oil. Change the oil. You need DHA. Why do I talk about it all the time? Because your brain's made up of DHA. You better change the oil. Get an oil change. These people that suffer from these conditions are extremely deficient. How do you get DHA, by the way? Eat fish. Eat steak. Yeah. It's not found in the plant kingdom. EPA and DHA, but I'm big on DHA. Not that I don't like EPA. I like, you know another fatty chain acid that I like? ALA. It's in the plants. I like it. But not for your brain. I like CLA. You know what CLA is? Dairy. Cheese. CLA. Cream. CLA. It's good for you. Conjugated. Linoleic acid. But it ain't DHA. DHA is specifically, look, it does a lot of things. Heart, blood vessels, blah, blah, blah. But it's brain. Because that's what your brain's made up of. Someone calls you fathead, take it as a compliment. This whole idea of fat-free, which is a lie. Fat-free, oh, Doc, fat. I see steak and I see the fat there. I never get the fatty cuts. I said, why wouldn't you get the fat? Eat the fat. That's where all your vitamins are. Eat the fat. You can't even go get a hamburger today. Lean. I grabbed my butcher there by the neck. Give me the fat. Yeah, but everybody wants lean. I said, it's a lie. Your brain's made up of that fat. Ooh. What else did I see? Okay. I think I hit them all. DHA. Oh, magnesium. They were low in magnesium. Magnesium's important. It's a very important mineral. Not only for your blood vessels and things like that, which magnesium is important for, but it's also important for your brain. These people were deficient. So, and like I mentioned yesterday, is there anyone watching today, listening on a podcast, that doesn't have someone in their family or close friends that have suffered depression, bipolar, or schizophrenia? We've all been touched by that. Some of you listening to me today have been touched personally by these things. And nobody's telling anyone not to take meds, or I'm not saying that. Please don't misquote me. What I'm saying is there's in behind the scenes problems, pretty consistent. And you need to address those things. You need to address these things. And especially if we can get kids and change their habits. It's hard. They're surrounded by sugar and advertisement for sugar and crappy carbs 24/7. They're instead of worrying about depression, and we saw it through this whole thing of the virus. And I kept screaming, don't worry about being overwhelming the hospitals with the virus. Be worried about overwhelming the hospitals with depression and suicides and overdoses. And they're luring people to be vaccinated with donuts. Nobody's talking about good nutrition. How important that is. Anyway, okay. I had a workout. I enjoyed it. Guys, thanks so much for watching today and listening. We appreciate it very much. We don't take you guys for granted. I mean that. All of our followers on Facebook, on the private Facebook group, and our podcast, between the Facebook and the podcast, we're well over 2 million views and downloads. We appreciate that, guys. I mean, you have no idea how much we appreciate it. Thanks again for making The Reset a #1 bestseller. We appreciate that too. We do. I don't take that for granted. Okay? Okay. So, Friday is question and answer. So it's still time to get your questions in. We'll always a popular session when we do that. Okay? Tony Jr. and I are talking about maybe doing a webinar in the next little wee bit. And we'll let you know about that. Okay? I always love it when I can get my son to join with me, or I join with him, and we tag team. You guys, we love you big time. Okay. Talk to you soon.